So today I'm here to go over with you the next part of your African cultural mask. You will be making an African expressionist mask in the style of some of the work of Pablo Picasso. If you're not familiar with him, visit my old friend Google. You'll learn a lot about him in your Art 1 course. But we're focusing on Africa and African masks today. I'm going to go over a step-by-step keynote of how I made my mask. Oh, he's supposed to show anger and frustration. I'm feeling a lot of anger and frustration lately. So I have a step-by-step keynote on how I made my fella. And then there's a website attached that'll also walk you through this project with lots of nice videos attached. They're really useful. I didn't feel like it was important to remake what this lady had done. She did a great job, so I thought we'd just use her stuff. And it has a great outcome. All right, so let's take a look at my steps and how I created my mask now. Steps I did to create my African expressionist mask. So here's a picture of my little fella right here. All right, so you are going to need cardboard, glue, scissors, oil pastels, which are waiting for you in the school office, and watching the video of this process. I've also attached the website that leads you step by step through how to create your African expressionist mask. So step one, I began by deciding what emotion I wanted to express. I've definitely been feeling a lot of frustration and anger this year with all this confusion and COVID and trying to figure out things. So I then researched some angry African masks for inspiration. And these are some of the examples I found. I began by creating the base of my masks. I cut a large flat piece of cardboard to act as the head of my mask. Your base must be at least 12 inches by 12 inches. And I would encourage you to go larger. The larger, the better for this mask. The tiny little mask made out of a tiny little hot cocoa box or something like that is not really going to fulfill this requirement. I started building my facial features using scraps and shapes of the cardboard. I layered different pieces to make different heights on my mask. After I had positioned my pieces where I wanted them, I glued them down. The video suggests coloring your base before you glue your features on the website that I have attached. I think they went about it right because it was really hard to color in all the nooks and crannies and get the right shading the way I wanted it once I had glued these all down. So maybe their idea is better. I made sure to use large pointy features to express the anger in my masks. Think about what emotion you're expressing. If it's happiness, what would happiness look like? Maybe they'd be lots of jagged pow marks. If you're trying to express sadness, it might be smooth, rounded shapes. Make sure to contrast your shapes against each other and make sure to layer things up on top of each other so that they look 3D. Again, as in a lot of the masks you'll see, symmetry is important, just like in our tikis. Whatever you do to one side, make sure you do something that is exact as possible with the other side. Once you have one shape, use that shape to trace the second shape so that you get them to look alike. I colored my cardboard sculpture using contrasting colors that made me think of anger. I used Q-tips at my finger to get the oil pastel into all the small areas and to blend some of the colors. I used a top layer of white around areas like my mouth and nose to make them stand out. I used black in the areas like my eyes and inside the teeth of my mouth to make them look dark and, what's the word I write? Whoops! To make them look dark and dangerous. There we go. My goodness. It's also important to note that black in oil pastel is a very messy color. Be very careful about how neat you get this and be very careful about when you use it. I'd always try to use it towards the end because it could take over any other color. It's also important to remember that with oil pastels that you can layer them and blend them on top of each other to get awesome, nice effects. Also make sure you're using contrasting colors here to make areas pop out. See how I went red, pink, black, all very different colors to show his eyes. Your final steps. You will submit 2 bright, clear pictures of your African mask creation. You will then drop your mask off at school for hanging in the school's spring art show. Exhibition is a standard you are required to complete. Thus, your project will not be complete until after your project has been dropped off. It needs to be exhibited as part of the art show and in our display in the hallway. So you will not receive your completed grade until your mask is dropped off. All right, so if you have any questions or are struggling in any way, please feel free to reach out. Gladly send me any pictures, and I can help you walk through any problems you might be having. This should be fun and a great project for you all. So I hope you enjoy it, and I can't wait to see your creations.